Rangeba Sojola here. Now, particularly in this video, we'll be speaking about the centrality and the importance of coal in industrialization. We'll be basically looking at brief history of coal in industrialization and generally the role of coal in human civilization. Right, when you look at the role of coal and when it started being used by humans, it was quite a prehistoric event, right? There are early recordings that it has been used around about 300 AD, right? You know, used in various forms, but particularly at that early stage, it was coal that had a lot of ash, you know, known as charcoal. It also used coal from trees and other dry elements, right? So in each and every stage of development, right, of the human race or towards industrialization, coal has always been at the central part of it. When fire was discovered, it was also discovered that coal can sustain fire, right? Now, when iron was discovered, it was particularly understood that you can mix the coal with the iron to produce a material that is hard enough for you to produce weapons and other utensils, right? Now, when the British people started industrializing, it was the discovery of coal, right? Resources that made it possible for some inventors to come up with the steam engine, right? So when also steel was discovered, coal is also in the central part of this thing, a steel production, right? When you look at coal, there are two types of coal that you can find. There's something called thermal coal and metallurgical coal. Thermal coal basically produces electricity, right, by basically boiling water, basically using it in a boiler to boil water to a very high temperature, to a point where you find a supercritical fluid. This fluid drives a steam turbine. This steam turbine is connected to a generator and it produces electricity. Now, there's also the second type of coal called the metallurgical coal. Basically, this coal is coal that you use to produce steel, right? Steel is a material that produces the modern world as we know it, right? Bridges have come from steel. The skyscrapers that we see wouldn't be this high without steel. Planes, the steel. Trains, steel. Cars, steel. Whatever industry that you want to look at, it involves steel. So it's basically the flesh and bones of the economy, right? Now you can think of coal, or rather, yes, coal, or rather as the consciousness, when it produces electricity as the consciousness of the industry. So coal is quite a central, it's very central to the development or the industrialization of South Africa, right? South Africa wouldn't be in this state without the coal reserves that it has, right? So it's very important not to quickly move away from coal as South Africa because it is fundamentally intertwined within our economy, right? If coal moves, the economy moves with it, right? If coal gets cheap, things get cheap, electricity gets cheaper, right? So this video is fundamentally to illustrate the very central important aspects about coal, right? And how moving away from coal in South Africa would make it very, very difficult to industrialize, right? Thermal coal produces something called a base load. So this means a very stable voltage at a constant supply, right? So it doesn't move, right? If you look at solar only functions at night. And if you look at the solar system, basically the inverter is expensive and the battery is expensive, right? So when you look at wind, it only works when there is wind. The wind doesn't blow all the time. There might be areas which have wind that blows, but it's not a base load supply, right? So this is fundamentally the importance of coal. And if we're going to speak of the fourth industrial revolution or any sort of industrialization, coal necessarily has been in the central part of this development. For more information, please watch the next video.